Join us now for an insight with Carl Summer.
In writing Your Job is Easy, I wanted to teach the importance of appreciating the work that others do. So often we live only in our own little world. Sam and Jane lived on a farm, but something happened in that happy home that transformed both of them. Jane looked out the window and criticized Sam's plowing. An argument resulted that ended up in them each switching to do each other's easy job. How often we don't appreciate what our mates do. Sam happily dreamed that in his free time that day, he'd be leaning back against a tree and fishing. And Jane, she happily dreamed of swinging in a hammock and reading. The wonderful world of dreams. Sam's sleep is rudely awakened during the night when he hears the baby crying because he's hungry. Wah! Sam gets poked by his loving wife, who reminds him that he has to feed the baby. Sam didn't expect that to happen, but he grudgingly gets out of bed and feeds the baby. Shortly after, Jane leaps out of bed and shouts, "Oh yes, this is going to be such an easy day." Jane had the whole day planned. She was going to work smarter, not harder. Jane soon realizes that even with her good ideas, unforeseen problems can emerge. She encounters one problem after another. Even when Jane finally gets all the animals happy and full, and things in the field begin to settle down, she walks over to the tractor and thinks, "I'll show Sam how to plow." Not surprisingly, this also ends up in a disaster. After being drugged through the mud for the second time, Jane declares, "That's it, I'm going home. I don't care if the field is crooked or straight." This has been the hardest day of my life. Sometimes wives don't respect the skills of their husbands. He may be a maintenance man where he works, but the wife doesn't trust him to fix things in the house. And woe if the husband makes a mistake in repairing anything. "You should have listened to me. We should have called a repairman." Wives, stop magnifying every mistake you make does and excusing every mistake you make. Likewise, you husbands, don't magnify every mistake your wife makes. Yes, sometimes my wife makes chocolate vegetables. She burns them in the pot. We need to be more forgiving. When we make a mistake, we want forgiveness. Why not do the same when others make a mistake? Sam, on the other hand, begins his day by announcing, "We're going to make a special breakfast." Yes, sir, Daddy is cooking. It's special time. After having all sorts of difficulty, his special breakfast ends up being the easiest meal he can fix: peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then, while bailing out the water in the basement, he spotted clothes that needed to be washed, dried, and ironed. He became even more depressed. "How will I ever get everything done?" he asked. Sam was tired, his nose hurt, his back ached, and his house was a big mess. Then he groans, "Oh, this has been the hardest day of my life." Husbands and wives need to appreciate the work each one does. Parents, teach your children to appreciate what others are doing. So many times children are only concerned about their own little world. If they have brothers and sisters, teach them to be compassionate and think of others. When Jane entered the house and saw the house in the mess, and when Sam looked at Jane with the tangled hair, muddy clothes, bandaged nose, the tractor stuck in the mud, they just laughed and laughed. Oh, that families would learn to laugh over things that happened and not take everything so serious. Then Sam and Jane did something that's so important. Sam gave Jane a hug and apologized. Oh, that would be quick to say to one another, "I'm sorry," when we do something wrong, and be ready to forgive one another. Instead, how often the defense mechanism comes up. Proud people have extreme difficulty of saying those important words, "I'm sorry." As a result, there are many miserable marriages. "But my mate never says he's sorry, so why should I?" Two wrongs don't make a right. You do what's right, regardless of what your mate does. When I was in the Marine Corps, a friend of mine had a saying, tit for tat. You kill my dog, I'll kill your cat. How many married couples, instead of seeking ways to respect and love one another, they're constantly looking for revenge. They're happy when their mates do something wrong, and they are quick to point out when they do it, even in the presence of others. Be wise, love, and support each other. You'd be much happier if you do it. Parents, teach your children to learn to appreciate the work and sacrifices your mate does. Encourage your children to do acts of kindness to one another. As I suggested in the lesson plan on the website, get together as a family and make a list of the things you appreciate about each other. Then send thank you cards to each other, detailing the things that you are grateful for and the character traits that they have that make them special to you. This book ends with Jane happily going back to her job and Sam gladly going back to his job. Life went back being peaceful and pleasant. I wish the same for you and your family.